into your drive each time. What I'll do is I'll set it up so that it's down on the bottom here for you. Like so that.
All right, it is 9 o'clock and we'll open this session, regular scheduled session of court into order. And we'll begin today with an invocation from Magistrate Jamey Gay.
Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we pause on this Flag Day to remember those that have fought and died and currently stand watch in support of our flag. And Father, may we always be mindful of those sacrifices and understand and appreciate the fact that freedom is not free. And Father, be with this court, give us wisdom to make the decisions that best serve our citizens of this great county. And Father, we also do pause today in memory of Mike Wilder, a servant of yours and a servant of this county. And it's in your Son, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. And if you'll join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Speaking of Flag Day today, it is Flag Day, and hope everybody remembers that. Boyle County has a special significance in our American flag's heritage in that we were the 15th state to join the Union in 1792. And the 15th star on the Star Spangled Banner represents Kentucky, and it was initiated through the Constitutional Conventions here in Boyle County. So there's a Star Spangled Banner flying at Constitution Square next to our current American Old Glory. So just let people out there that are watching us on YouTube know that. Appreciate your comments about Mike Wilder, who was a public servant of this county, friend to many in his passing. I would entertain discussion to maybe adjourn in his honor today at the end of this session. So, let's look at entertain a review and motion on the previous meeting's minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Magistrate Simmons and seconded by Magistrate Cullen to approve the minutes of our past meeting on 31 May 2022. Are there any changes or corrections that need to be made? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and the motion carries. All right, thank you for that. Next, we need to approve some bills. Mariah, you're on.
Good morning.
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 So the amount for bills to be paid is $3,800,086.89. The standing orders that we've already paid out came to $405,734.07.
I move we approve the bills as presented.
All right, we have a motion to approve the bills as presented by Magistrate Gay and seconded by Magistrate Short. Any questions or discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mariah.
Thank you.
All right.
Judge?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You know, on here, there's a lot of folks who serve this county on election day.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate their service and just like to acknowledge that what they do, and many of them have done it for a lot of years.
Oh, I know it, yeah.
And it shows their commitment to elections. And I appreciate it, and just wanted, I know the court does too.
Oh,
Just wanted
absolutely.
to bring that up.
I'm glad you said that. We do appreciate those who, I guess, are they called sheriffs or just poll workers, poll
Poll
watchers,
workers,
Yeah.
I'm sure include various jobs.
Election
but-
officer pay.
election officers.
But it's the fact that they do it and they do it consistently and they do it for the right reason.
What's it called, a poll?
Because you're under the definition of a poll, you're polling the responses to a question between two candidates. It's like it's just another term for vote. You know, you're polling an issue. The issue of a race between two individuals or more than one.
I mean, the guy climbs the pole the highest wins.
Yeah, the guy that climbs the highest, the quickest.
Can you get EMS involved?
Next, we need to approve some budget transfers and cash transfers, so.
Yes, so that would be me. Budget transfers total $343,231.66.
Move we approve the budget transfer as presented.
All right, we have a
Second.
motion by Magistrate Gay, seconded by Magistrate Cullen. Any questions or comments on the budget transfers? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you for that. All right, cash transfers.
Okay, yes, I only have one. It'll be for $1,500,000.
Is that all?
That's all.
Where are you transferring it from?
That is actually, it's in the ARPA fund, and it is in, you'll see a difference in the reserves, because that money is sitting in the ARPA reserve right now.
Okay.
So, and it will be going to the general fund.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Magistrate Short, I believe seconded by Magistrate Cullen. Any questions other than the one that's already been asked? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you for that. All right, we're moving into the consent calendar, and I have the administrative code under me, and I have it in front of me. Let me tell you where we are on this. We wanted to present a copy, and we'll do it digitally in probably sometime this week, so you can have it to review with some changes and stuff. We have talked with Rich Ornstein and working with Keiko's model administrative code. We're working to make some changes in some job descriptions and some changes to improve our model procurement code to be in line with some things that give us increased or flexibility and compliance with statute. Is that a good way of saying it, Julie? So we hope to have a lot of not a lot of revisions. In fact, there are few revisions.
It's more additions.
Additions coming from, we found online a great model that Keiko had put forward, and it has a lot that we're incorporating in our current administrative code, which I think will enhance and improve it for everybody.
Will the coding numbers change at all? There will be additions. Will old language change their quote coding?
I don't understand the question.
Well,
You
right
mean the
now, for
numbering
example,
system?
I went over it this weekend, and 110.1.3,
Yeah.
would that still be 110.
No, they have it organized in chapters, so it's a little easier to follow the way Rich laid it out. So I'm gonna recommend we just follow his. If you want it to stay the old way, I can leave it that
Well,
way.
my only point is I've got about 3 pages of notes here, and I won't match up, so
Well, if you can give me those notes,
Okay.
I can read them as I'm writing and
I'll
go
do
through
that.
it.
Great,
Because I haven't changed everything yet.
great, thank you.
And what we'll try to do is get that out to you hopefully by the end of this week or the first part of next week. And that'll give you about a week and a half to review for next court session. And then hopefully we can go into that court session fully prepared to approve the new administrative or the revised administrative code. And, you know, we can ascertain changes up to that point that everybody would want to make.
Sounds good.
Okay? So we'll move on past that. Next, we have EDP, MOU, and I'm gonna turn it over to John.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna read to you a document that is called the Partnership Commitment, which is the document between us, Fiscal Court, and EDP. In Section 5, it's called withdrawal. If one of us elects to withdraw from this commitment for any reason, that partner shall provide written notice to the chair of the partnership board of directors no less than 30 days prior to the proposed withdrawal date. We have voted as a court twice to not give EDP any dollars in our next fiscal year. Therefore, I don't know why we should belong. We're not going to support them financially as we have in the past, and we have swung our support to the authority, economic authority. I think that tells everybody where we are as a court. Twice we have voted the $200,000 to the authorities. So I will make the motion that we use this withdrawal notice, give proper notice of 30 days as required. I'll make the motion that we do that effective today.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to provide written notification to the Economic Development Partnership of our action to remove from the partnership, remove the fiscal court from the partnership. Motion, is that correct statement?
That's correct.
And that motion made by Magistrate Kaywood, seconded by Magistrate Cullen. Open for discussion.
I just think it's still premature to do that. I think that's coming, but I think it's premature, and I wouldn't mind it if we set a date more than 30 days out there, because I think we still need to fully establish what's replacing the EDP so that we continue to operate and function in the economic development arena at this point in time, because I think that it seems to me that we're moving towards a corporation with the EDA under that corporation, which I think is the best compromise and the best path forward. And so I do support that transition, but I just don't think if we want to put this 90 days out, then I think that could be more doable. I just think we're still a little premature, because we're effectively then saying we're just out there hanging in the wind right now without a full economic.
I agree that I think this body needs to determine that if, like the city has stated, they have supported a move toward the corporation concept, which there is no paperwork on right now. And there needs to be, if that's what you might say the same thing about them, because there's nothing that exists there. The EDA exists by interlocal agreement. If the corporation and the city supports the corporation, which they said they do, then we need to have a discussion about coming alongside with them on that issue. But EDA is still a viable participant in that. Then we'll have to decide if that money that we have allocated to EDA effectively needs to be used for staffing economic development growth under what organization that we recognize.
Yeah, and on that point, I would like to see and would encourage us to consider keeping that allocation in there for the EDA and it needs to accrue over time for the purpose of land acquisition and development, which is the purpose of the EDA. And then we need to come up with some more funding to fund the personnel through the corporation with the support of our private dollars as well. So it'd be city, county, and private dollars would support the personnel effort of the corporation. And the EDA money would accrue for property acquisition and development over time. And it may be 4 or 5 years down the road, and if we can continue to put in $200,000 each, then all of a sudden you have some real money that can do some things in property acquisition at that point in time.
Right.
2 points on that. Number one, the EDA is not limited to land acquisition. That's absolutely been established legally. And number two, there is no reason to believe that we won't be working public and private partnerships, including fiscally. So I'm very much in support of this. And then one third point that I'd make, somewhat related to it, this is the 3rd budget year that we have had a very significant discussion about our concerns about performance of EDP. And with all that in mind, I can support the motion on the floor.
Yes,
May
sir.
I add, respectfully to everybody, this conversation we just had has nothing to do with the motion.
No, it doesn't.
It's
It
where
doesn't.
we are today.
You know, it's a
If we-
procedural.
There's nothing wrong with letting everybody truly know where we are as of today. And this is not hiding anything. This is putting it on the line saying, here we are. And we have said it twice already
Okay.
with the budget and the agency report. So we've really said it. Let's just say it a little louder. And that's what this motion does.
And they kind of said it to us too, because after we voted, I believe Tom kind of received a text stating that if you don't contribute, then you don't have a seat on the board anymore. So I think they.
Well, I think, the only reason I said what I said, I think the city and the county have made it clear that the future for economic development has a different path than EDP. And all I'm saying is, that's basically.
We have to start on that path now, because
Yeah.
we're really not on that path. And every day is a day lost.
Yeah.
And in this competition, in this state, in the United States, we don't have a lot of time. We gotta do it every day.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I'll make a motion to follow this motion then.
Okay, is there any more discussion on this motion before the court? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
No.
It's a 5 to 1. No, 1 no. Okay? Motion passed. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we proceed immediately because of the very points that Magistrate Kaywood made with the formation, joining the city in the formation of the Economic Development Corporation as presented by the EDA, the structure and format by the president of the chairperson of the EDA, to move forward with creating the corporation to replace the EDP.
Is that motion even necessary when the paperwork's already underway?
From the county side, the county's
The
not.
county is not endorsed the corporation concept officially. They have endorsed the EDA concept officially.
And for clarification, that's completely consistent with the graphic that we're under discussion.
It is consistent with the graphic.
And I would second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Go ahead.
I don't have anything in front of me on what we're voting on. I don't
No,
have-
you don't.
Did you have anything in front of you on what you just voted on?
Yes, I did.
Oh, for
Where
you.
was
I,
it?
I didn't have, yeah,
I mean, that's not.
I don't have a graphic.
That's no
that's
more in
being-
front of him than what he has in
There-
front of
there's
him
no-
now.
there's no
He
final-
has the same graphic we all have.
I read it to him.
Yeah.
He knows what he voted.
There,
We've all had that copy. of
and
it.
yeah, I have that, and I've not seen a finalized draft of the corporation. So I'm hesitant that we vote on something that we don't have in front of us, that's not finalized.
How about the concept? Because the city is
I'm
pretty
not-
much voted on the supporting of the
They
concept.
don't have anything in front of them. They voted on the concept of the corporation.
So that way we
With
continue to
EDA
move down
as
the
a
road
support member.
on that path.
I'm gonna
I'm
be.
not sure it's finished yet, to tell you.
No, it's not.
I'm not, I'm not sure it is.
I don't
I
want to
think-
send mixed signals that we're endorsing a concept that we haven't looked at.
We have a motion and a second.
I would withdraw my second if you would restate on the concept as
Yeah,
opposed
the
to the
concept.
documentation.
Yeah, the Economic Development Corporation concept.
I will support that as a second.
I think we're premature, and I don't think anything's been presented, and it's not on the agenda. So.
Well, I'm persuaded by Minister Kaywood's urgency that every day that goes by, our competitors are working hard.
And they are.
But if we're just talking about a concept, we don't have.
That really doesn't have any weight to a concept.
No, I understand that, but I'm confused by all this because there's a concept has nothing to do with moving us ahead. We need something finalized in front of us. So.
Probably a better way to put it is to ask my office and the county attorney, who is not here right now, to enter into discussions that concern an interlocal agreement to recognize a concept officially.
And that's why I asked if anything was necessary from the first comment that I made 10 minutes ago. If that's necessary for us to do that, to encourage you to do it when it's already underway, to develop that further.
Yeah, because no, I have no direction from the court to pursue that.
That's all I'm saying, is let's give him that direction.
Well, all we're saying, we're just in agreement with the city.
And moving forward.
By moving forward, but there's no.
In moving forward,
Other
to
than
You don't
develop
need
the
a motion.
interlocal,
That's as
moving
far
forward
as
to
it
develop
goes.
the interlocal.
You
agreement.
really don't need a motion to ask me to do that, I don't think.
That's fine.
But if you want to.
I don't think there's no motion that needs to be made for you to start the
If
process.
the court say, if you say to me as a court that you want for me to pursue discussions with the city on the corporation, Economic Development Corporation.
I withdraw my second with respect to us just giving you that direction.
Okay.
We've wasted a lot of time discussing that.
So is that acceptable to everybody?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's get something.
I'll give you a report next court session.
Thank you.
Okay?
So does his motion die for lack of a second?
Yes, sir?
Yeah.
Unless there's another. Okay, it dies for lack of a second. Nobody else has
Let the
seconded it.
record reflect.
Let the minutes reflect such. And that I have instructions to discuss with the city the Danville Boyle County Economic Development Corporation idea. Okay?
Good, based on the 7-person board concept. That's what we've been discussing. Right?
That's what the city agreed to.
Right,
We're gonna discuss what the city has agreed to.
Right, that's right. That's why I just want to make sure we were still on the same page as far as
Yeah.
that structure.
All right,
That's why it's important to have something in front of us.
we're moving
But
right along.
you do have that in front of you.
I do
You
not.
have that. You've seen that.
I've seen it. I've not been to the last
You
whatever.
have it in
couple
front of you
meetings.
as much as you have anything else in front of you today.
Next, we have Mr. Steve Griffin, our Human Resources Director.
Morning.
Morning.
Just got a couple things, and I believe you have.
Perfect segue, Steve.
What's that?
Mental health. Perfect segue.
Yeah, isn't it though? You'll have a document that was forwarded to me from our consultant, Cheryl Morgan. This is about the mental health parity and addiction equity. This goes back to, back in, what year was it? 2008 maybe? 2008, Congress passed the Mental Health Parity Act. And that basically said that we won't differentiate between benefits for mental health as we do for physical health, which a lot of plans did at that time. In 2021, Congress said, we don't know you all are really administering these plans properly, so we're gonna develop an analysis so that you have to make sure that you can prove to us you're administering these plans properly. So I looked up, I wasn't even aware of this EQTL analysis until Cheryl Morgan brought it to my attention. It's quite complicated. You've got to know, it's days and days of figuring out stuff, and so much information to gather from networks, from management, from vendors, from telemedicine to make sure that yes, we're offering the same benefits and actually the same payment processes. So this group, this firm, will do that analysis for us on an annual basis. The first year fee is right around $4,000, $39.99 actually. And that they propose that the next year's will be about 50% of that cost. I guess they have to get set up to make sure they can capture all the information they have for us. So I'm asking your approval to do that.
Do they have competitors?
Yes, there are other firms out there, yes. I have not looked at them. You know, in fact, quite frankly, I don't know if I would know if one was better than the other, my knowledge of the whole subject matter, so.
Is this a requirement that has been placed on us that we need to do?
We have to do the analysis, and I read this, if they don't like the way we did the analysis, if the Department of Labor comes to us, then we have to redo it again. And keep redoing it again until they like what we've done. So this will ensure that it gets done properly the first time.
Is this Cheryl Morgan's recommendation?
Yes,
This
it
company?
is. Yes.
Do we get a discount from them on their?
I'm not sure.
Seem to be nickel and diming us lately.
Well, there's part of their consulting arrangement with us to give us that advice of which we need to be compliant with requirements, and so this is part of them complying with that.
So if they find that we have deficiencies, we work with them to clear them up to get it approved?
Yes.
How many employees do we have? 180?
Right at that, yes, sir.
Less than that benefits eligible. So.
Yeah, some of them
Some
are
are-
part-time.
some are part-time.
About how many?
120 something? That sound about, I don't know the exact total right now.
See if we can negotiate, because if you have under 100 employees, they drop it $1,000, so.
It's worth looking at.
Yeah, look into it.
Good point.
I'll make the motion, we approve this with Magistrate Cullen's suggestion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the arrangement with NQTL through advice from Cheryl Morgan, with the understanding that we will seek to get the best rate of support and service from our arrangement on
Is this-
our personnel numbers.
Sorry, I asked the question already. But is this one we approve each year, or is this ongoing? And
Since we don't know what the fee will be, they suggest it will be 50%, but they're not really quoting it as 50%, so.
but do we have to approve this each year?
I would think so. I don't know. I'm just learning your purchasing processes.
And that, we could put it as a standing order because of its amount. If it is roughly 50%, it wouldn't meet the threshold of our,
No, I don't want it just to be one of those bills that gets auto paid, not looked at each year.
okay, so.
I mean, it's still significant, even if it's 50%, it's still $2,000. All right, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, the motion was made by Magistrate Short,
Okay.
Gay, and then seconded by Magistrate Short, okay. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, motion carries, thank you.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Okay, the motion to approve the comp time agreements was made by
Thank you.
Magistrate
I didn't know there was four.
seconded by Magistrate Gay.
Right, got me quick on that one.
Yeah,
And, any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion carries. Thank you.
I did want to interject one other thing we're working on. This wasn't on the agenda, I hope it's okay, is about the new healthcare plan option. We're working toward getting that information out. Plans are right now to, so we can catch the 24-hour weekend people and 12-hour people. Is to meet over at EMS, Shannon and myself, at 6 o'clock Monday and Tuesday in the morning to get those people and share that information with them. We're still working on how to get the information out. Waiting on the our to provide us with a document that shows the comparison. We're still waiting on that, so.
Can you get a can you get a list of the people that actually have the family option that this would impact the most, and make sure that you get that off to their?
Yeah, there's only a few people. I mean, if I can count on my hands, people have family right now, is my understanding.
Okay.
The real impact is going to be the people who don't have it,
Yeah.
but would like it, and then whether or not if it's my spouse has got coverage elsewhere, whether they will allow them to drop out of theirs.
They should.
Mid-year. They will have to.
Generally, if you gain coverage, you have 30 days to.
You do, but you don't have to let you go, is the rule. If the status change, most will, but I don't know who these people work for. I don't know who the spouses are. So, but anyway, hopefully it'll all be that way and won't be an issue. If you'd like, we will identify the people that are covered today.
Just make it easier. I thought it'd be easier for you to identify and make sure nobody slips through, but
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. All right. Any questions about that?
I'm excited about that.
I am too.
Yeah.
I am too. All right. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. All right, Bill, you're up.
Thank you.
Yes,
Good
sir.
morning, ladies and gentlemen of the court. I would like a motion to approve our CivicReady change from Code Red to CivicReady. Then we can discuss it.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Magistrate Short, second by Magistrate Gay, and we to approve Civic Plus to replace Code Red, and now we can discuss it and hear the.
We looked at several different things, including Code Red, again, mygov.text and CivicReady. Most all three of them came in at about the same price. CivicReady has far more functionality than any of the other two put together. Plus the fact that if you'll notice our total investment for the first year is only $6,700. They have prorated that for us so we can get started right away, and they would not bill us until after the first of the year, so it doesn't have to go on this year's, and we don't have to make any changes this year to get started on this.
What's the advantage over Code Red?
It's easier to operate. When we had the Boyle Water advisory for Parksville, it took Brian almost 2 hours to get it up on Code Red.
And there's a threshold on Code Red.
That is a good
That's
point,
a big
Magistrate
one.
Ellis. There is a threshold. We only have 100,000 alerts with Code Red, and then they start charging you for each alert.
And that
So-
goes pretty quick.
So when you got a county that has up to 30,000 people in it, as you can see, one alert would use up a third of those real quick if everybody were on the system. CivicReady does not have that limit. CivicReady can also be used in a non-emergency situation. You can create groups, i.e. a farmer's market group that people could sign up for, and they could get notifications of what's going on at the farmer's market or whatever. It has a very wide scope of possibilities that would help bring a lot of information to the county people.
Okay, making this switch, does everyone have to sign up again, or is it automatically rolls over?
Basically, in a nutshell, what my plan is, I've already contacted Code Red about the possibility of getting their information, which they have agreed to. In a worst case scenario, what we would do is get CivicReady up and running and send out a notice on Code Red that they just need to stop by this website. And Brian is well aware that he may have a lot of phone calls in this switch, and he's ready for that as well.
I know I've been real happy with Code Red myself, so.
I think I've actually seen this presentation, and I think you'll be happier because this gives us a broader array of information that can be pushed out to everybody in the public for legitimate awareness of situations, not just emergency, not just tornadoes or, the road between Mitchellsburg Road is flooded. It can get very specific, and you can do other things with it that Code Red, like I say, because of the threshold, we are limited to. And
It's a lot more expensive also.
no,
it's
no,
not.
I don't think so.
Most everything came in at about typically a yearly subscription for any service was right at about $8,000.
That's what I thought, 8,000, and
Yeah.
no, this is not more expensive.
For us to renew Code Red, which they do a 2-year contract, it would have cost us almost $14,000 this next fiscal year,
And again, with limitations on the number of hits that would be.
with limitation on the number of hits.
Judge, I do have a couple of points here.
Yes, sir.
Do you have your document in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Good, okay. Page 2, number 10 was the first one that bothered me, about them not having any liabilities in terms of antivirus protection. They don't share a liability with us, and I don't understand why they need that if you are keeping us well protected.
Well, they're not, basically what they're stating here is they're not going to take responsibility for anything that would happen on our on-premise computers.
Yeah. On our
That's my
network.
responsibility.
Okay, so you're satisfied with that?
Yes, sir.
On next page, top of the page, number 11, client's use of the services is at the client's own risk. Help me understand why they'd even need that in there, especially after the previous comments. Number 11, first sentence.
I think it has to do with because of the fact that we are the ones that are putting out the notices, that we kind of need to be responsible for them.
So if we misinformed someone about a flood or didn't.
They're not
inform them-
responsible.
Okay, all right, I think that's getting toward.
But that's what, I mean, in reliability, the quality of all that, it depends on us to, this is still a product that we are going to manage and control, and we have to be responsible for it. They basically are going to give us the car, we have to know how to drive
By
it.
curious coincidence, and it's the Mark Twain thing about the premature announcement of his death. I was talking to someone last night who had a premature announcement of his death. So if we accidentally put something out, then we're liable for any
Absolutely.
fallout. Okay, I'm satisfied. Now, page 3 also, number 12. There are all kinds of exemptions stated in number 12. The first line pretty well satisfies what I'm talking about. The fullest extent permitted by law, in no event shall Civic Plus, its officers, directors, etc., be liable for any indirect. See, indirect and direct, it's awfully specific there about what they're not liable for. Same kind of almost repetitious.
Well, it's the same, it is, but they're basically telling us that, hey, say, if you put something erroneous out there, you can't sue us for it.
Okay.
That's all, and they're, I guess they're covering themselves that way, but
Seems repetitious to me, but I know attorneys like to do that.
it's one of those things that, they're gonna give us the car. If we get pulled over for not having a license, they can't get sued.
Okay, I support it. Judge, call the question.
Okay, yes, sir.
We're about to go into a heat advisory from what I'm reading in the paper. Would this be put out through the system?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the system has, I don't wanna say any limitations, but it has such a wider variety of being able to notify people, not only in a case of an emergency, but in a case, and in some cases, a heat advisory that we're getting ready to get into is probably gonna be emergency type situation. I mean, I have no doubt that it will tax the EMS system.
It certainly is to certain groups of folks who may be
Absolutely.
more senior or have
Right.
health issues, risk.
But it will also incorporate with our new website. So all that stuff will be handled right there. Basically, as long as I have an internet connection, we can get notice out to anybody.
With that, plus what you can do to protect yourself.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
It gives us a much broader capability to push needed information out to all of our residents.
Call for
Is
question.
there any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. I appreciate you.
Bill,
Thank you, Bill.
Bill,
what period of time will it take to move us over?
My plan is to have this up by the middle of July. That's when the Code Red term expires.
Contracts up at that time?
Yes, sir. I think it's July 17th.
Okay, so there'd be no lack of coverage?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good job.
all right, thank you, Bill. All right, next, we have the distinguished Brent Blevins.
Always appreciate talking to you all and appreciate the opportunity to spend just a few minutes with you. Starting out, this is that time of the year, the very first thing I need to do is our tax rate and just get that one out of the way because there's a few other things. And I know, Phil, but this year I'm going to keep it right where it is. We're doing okay.
You better ask for it while you can get it.
I understand. It's, but I'm going to keep it at 3.7 this year, which is what we've been for the last 4 years, I believe.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion to approve the tax rate for the health department made by Magistrate Salmon, second by Magistrate Short. Discussion.
It's too easy.
I think it's too low. I think it's too low for what he does.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That was pretty easy.
That was. Thank you, guys. I have one question on that. I have my forms, and usually I give them to the county attorney and to the clerk. Do you want me to just drop those off with them on my way out, or?
Chris is not here, but you can drop it off, or you
Okay.
give it to me.
And give it to Missy.
Okay, I'll hand them to you when I leave. And I'll give you one for him and one for the clerk, I believe. Both of them have to have a copy.
It's fine.
All right. The second thing because John has been good to me and said, hey, over the years, you need to say what the health department does. So I put together just this and gave you some just real quick bullet points on just some categories of what the health department does. Because for the last 2 years, obviously, it's been COVID. I mean, that's just what it's kind of been. I will tell you, looking at this list, that the one that I know drives you all nuts and probably drives me nuts more than anybody is the one that says health risk nuisance abatement. I'll give you an example. I had an anonymous letter sent to me, and we get these weekly about a place out in Junction that somebody was complaining about all the stuff on the porch and around the house and that kind of stuff. And trying to figure out to deal with those, I know it's maddening for you all. Sometimes it's maddening for us, but I will say a real plus for us now. Angie has been tremendous in this because a lot of these, we were talking about one the last couple of weeks, and Angie had already jumped on it. Had already got that in the process, got that going through the court system, and that's a huge help when we're trying to figure these things out. Honestly, a lot of times it comes down to trying to figure out, is this the lifestyle somebody lives, or is it actually a problem, an environmental type problem that we need to deal with? And I'll just tell you, that's a hard call sometimes. We get the Division of Water out frequently to test water that's running out of properties, and 99.9% of the time it's groundwater as opposed to a septic system or a sewer issue like that. But I understand your all's frustration on those when you catch up with me. I totally do, and we do try to work through those. But keep catching up with me anytime, and I'll tell you anytime what we're doing and what we've done with it or what we haven't on the pieces that we can deal with from the health department. The syringe services and the COVID contact tracing at the bottom, that's just some general. I tried to report those numbers to you off and on. Just wanted you to have a little more update on those and what they look like. One thing on the syringe services, Amy Annis, who was working for the HEAL program, because that program has reached almost the end of its grant period, is now running our syringe program for us, and I'm really excited about that. Merle did that for about 3 years, had a great getting that going, and Amy's jumped right in, and I'm excited where that's going. So I just want you all to kind of have that in front of you there, just to see. And if you have any other questions, feel free at any time to catch up with me on that. And then I see that the contracts are on here, and the same thing I do every year for the contracts. The only thing I do on the Medicaid rates, Medicaid rate goes up, whatever it is, if it goes down, whatever it is. And that's the only way I do those rates. I don't throw anything else into the Medicaid rates. The biometrics, we do enough just to cover our costs, and usually a couple bucks per biometric to pay for our nurse to do the time on the contracts. And that's including the fiscal court one and also the detention center contract on both of those. All right, that's my quick spiel.
This is a census-related question.
Sure.
With our census going over 30,000, did that allow you to get additional staff, or wasn't that an issue that had happened to us before with our census numbers not quite making that point?
It was. We were at like 29,400. We had to be at 30 for us to for the health department to be considered for that. And so what's happened now is, it's called Transformational Funding, that the Department of Public Health and the legislators have looked at. And so as part of that did figure into how how the funding that we receive. Now, this is the first year we've been able to receive transformational funding. It's going to take me probably another year to figure that out, because while we got that piece of funding, what's called the block grant that we normally get from public health was almost cut out. So, you know, you receive on one side, the other side kind of goes back. But I think by next year we'll definitely have that. So I do think it's to our favor in Boyle County that happened, that we made it over the 30,000.
Well, and that's one of the little things that I kind of learned by being involved in the census, as Tom was with me as well, is all those little things that you don't really realize, and it's just another reason, you know, we have another 8 years before we do it again, but it's one of those little things you don't fully understand and appreciate how important it is to fill out your census.
Amen.
Is the way it affects things like our health department and our ability to receive dollars related to that account.
I agree with you 100%. One more thing on the financial piece, just to give you an idea of what it looks like, because retirement, you know, that has been the issue that a lot of state agencies have talked about. The number, they finally got the number finalized for all the health departments, and our number is $401,000 every year for the next 29 years to pay off that retirement cost. To give you an idea of what our budget in non-COVID years, our budget went up significantly to about 1.9 million with COVID. Normally it's about 1.3, 1.4 million. If you take 400,000 out of a 1.4 million, you can see what that impact. You know, the administrative costs get so out of whack over time that it's hard to sustain. But from my perspective and trying to figure out budgets as we go along, at least I know what the amount is. So that's kind of how that figures. Now, flip side of that is the state legislators, we are in somewhere in the line item budget. And so we do receive funding back from them to help pay the retirement. It's a little odd way it works, but that's just kind of how it is. And I think that number is about 210,000-ish or so. So just so you all have that knowledge of what that is when you're thinking retirements and budgets down the road and what that looks like. From the health department, that's how it works out for us.
Brent, I'm looking at your document that was sent to us.
Yes.
And on this CH52, under the witness, all the services, Hep A, Hep B, vision, venipuncture, skin testing for TB. It's really interesting to me, and I might have missed this in previous years, but were I so honored as to be county judge, I would not want to be the one, not having a physician's MD behind me, to be the referral person on something like this. And then when HIPAA comes into it, from personal experience when I was being certified 20 years ago here in Boyle County, I had an exposure, a very serious exposure. Fortunately, it didn't work out, but through my physician, I came to you all and got the protections that I needed from that exposure. I would think that HIPAA would enter into it without a physician, because my physician said, oh yeah, I really think with what happened at the school, you really need to go get your HEP protection. So I can't even understand why it was ever in here that a non-physician county judge, and I think that's in 120 counties, would be the one making the referral rather than the person's physician, both from the standpoint of the protections and the HIPAA considerations. So I'd recommend that language change to referral by the person's personal physician or something to that effect.
Yeah, we could look at that.
I wouldn't want to have that responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely look
Nor
at
would
that.
I want you to have it.
Amen. I'll never get there.
And probably what would help me is, could you shoot me a quick email and just say, hey, Brett, this one line, and
Sure,
give me a
yeah.
little different language?
Yeah.
And that way I can get back up at the state real quick, say, hey, how do I put this in? And I think we can.
Great.
I can't imagine that's an issue if there is, I'll holler.
Well, it's the HIPAA issue as much as anything, but when it happened to me, the principal didn't know, because I went straight to my physician. He said, here's what happened. And,
Sure.
and I personally wouldn't have cared if the physician, or if the principal knew, but others would.
Yeah, just shoot me an email and I'll definitely work on that,
Okay.
catch back up if you want.
Gotcha.
Brent, first, thank you for your information about what you do. I think there's a lot more that anybody needs to have a feel for that. What role will the health departments play in this drug money once it comes down to the counties?
Honestly, I'm not aware yet of any. Most of our discussion so far has been through ASAP and seeing how the counties want to proceed, and if some of that comes down to the ASAP group to then figure out, how to disperse that within all the agencies that are interested. That's the only knowledge I have so far. The state hasn't said anything to me different that I'm aware of.
Can we get Kathy a raise?
Yes. I tried this year and she vetoed it herself.
She did?
She did. She did. I've had that discussion with her every year.
Yeah.
I agree, 100%. Any other questions?
Now, the detention center contract,
Yes.
did we vote that in as part of the other contract?
Usually, yes. I do think this body is the one that votes that in, yes.
Okay. So, I have before me, the contract for the provision of services to the detention center that both the Mercer judge and I need to sign. So I would like to entertain a motion, excuse me, to authorize me to sign that agreement for Boyle Fiscal Court.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion made, Angie Gay to sign the local health department contract with the detention center, made by Matthew Gay, second by Matthew Salmons. Is there any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you for that.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Anything else?
Thank you, Brent.
Brent, y'all still
Thank
a good job. I just appreciate the hard work you do, and
We all
giving
do.
that tax.
Well, I appreciate that, but you all been good to me and been good at the health department. I know the last 2 years have taxed us all, but I never doubted the support we had between fiscal court or the commission, either one. And I can tell you, not every county's like that. And so I'm blessed to have
Well,
that.
you have, and quite a few people should come in to be vaccinated for COVID.
We do them I think the original has to go to the county attorney, and I think the clerk can get the copy.
Are many getting a new boost, second boost?
We do them every Monday from 4 to 5 is what we kind of got down to. We had 2 people show up yesterday. And we've adjusted hours every which way. We've sent people out, done all sites, and I think it's just kind of where we are.
Sure.
Now, come fall, if the numbers shoot back up, maybe those numbers will increase, maybe, is my guess. But I'm kind of waiting on to see if they're going to do a one-shot, because I think people are somewhat wore out with doing 3 and then 4 shots and then 5 shots, and I think that's just kind of the natural progression.
Syringe program still doing well. Syringe program,
Yes.
syringe exchange program.
It is. In between Merle and when Amy started, Amy just started last week. We had another lady that was doing a fine job, but a lot of people really identify with Merle, and a lot of people identify with Amy. And so they come to the door for that. So it is already picked up again in a week, and I expect it to continue that.
That's good. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, Brett.
Take
Good to
care.
see you,
Thanks,
Brett. All right, Miss Angie, you're up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, we received a solid waste management agreement from the city. Julie and I have sort of changed a few things in it to make it ours. So I think it's a good agreement now. The only question I have, and I'm just going to shoot it out to you all, is under solid waste and recycling, the last sentence there, and this is just, and it could be me overthinking, so anything you want to shoot out's good. Provide direct service to businesses who wish to dispose of items on a case-by-case basis. There are some I do work with, but I don't want I'm trying to think of how I want to word it.
An assumption.
Yeah, that's the good word.
An assumption that she will just.
The only problem that I have is if you are a landlord, you are getting rent money. You are getting revenue. Therefore, it's not our responsibility to pay for their trash that tenants leave. You know, we shouldn't have to, You know, the tenant living there, yes, they're the ones paying taxes, they're paying rent, they get the service. But just because they buck up and don't want to rid of that stuff, you know, and leave it to the city, I don't think that we ought to be responsible for that, because that person has received the revenue. And we have the free service.
I agree.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know, that's the only thing, I don't want something in there as an assumption that because we have helped one business do something, that we are made to do something like that, or perceived that we're going to do something like that.
Hasn't that been the guideline anyway?
It has
It
been,
has.
Yes.
it has.
But we have not had, there was never an agreement
In writing.
in writing,
In writing, yeah.
in writing.
Should we just omit that sentence? Just totally take
That's
it
the
out?
pleasure of, you know, it concerns me, you know, I don't wanna put it where we are,
Could it not, could that sentence?
I mean,
not-
I don't mind them calling if, you know, if there's something, you know, we can, you know, work together with, I don't have that problem per se, but I don't want it perceived that, you know, we'll just take, there's one business here that I work with, you know, because they have something that they can't really get rid of legally and I can. You know, and it don't cost us anything. But I don't want to be, I'll let you all decide.
Well, I wonder.
I think you understand what I'm saying.
We do. The direct service, could that be, advice on where they could dispose of it? Hey, I've got a
We
couch that the tenant left and I need to get it out. What do? Do I take it to Rumpke in Garrett County? Do I take it wherever?
That is where
Could that not
because
be-
you are a landlord.
Yeah, could that not be an interpretation of direct support?
It can, yes. I just don't want it perceived as something else, because that's pretty broad.
I'd almost take the sentence out, to be honest with
I
you.
think so too. I think you
eliminate
leave it out.
confusion.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm there to help whatever you need, you know, advice or, you know, whatever, but I just don't want it, there's enough perception between city and county that I don't want it to be an issue.
Well, the landlord has to be responsible
Exactly, the
for
landlord is
some
responsible.
things that happens at his place,
Well,
his rental place, whatever.
that's who I put in court now, you know, if there's an issue, and that's why we have some of the problems we have now.
Yeah. It's
Like
not
in
our
your district, you know, we
responsibility.
had a problem because, you know, getting hold of the tenants isn't the problem, it's getting hold of the people that own it.
There you go. We have the same problem in the county.
Yes, we're having the same problem now with some of the issues that, the county attorney has.
Yes.
I would think this would enter into and I'm in agreement with you, but the owner, who's renting the property, with the holdback, that he or she has on that unit to make sure and check it out. So to make sure that they're aware of what we're doing here, I don't know how we communicate that, but I'm agreeing with Ronnie that they do have a responsibility, and they better be checking that couch being left behind before they return that deposit that was left, that month deposit.
I mean, the county, Waste Management
Well,
has
what
to
happens to a
provide-
lot of your, and this is just from experience, they just up and leave and they don't do anything.
In the middle of the night.
And then or then they just wait, hoping they'll get out of there, and then they call wanting me to do something. And I can't do nothing, I'm not, you know,
I know, they had once out on my road where somebody left a couch sitting out front and moved. It sat up there for 2 or 3 months. So I called Angie and asked her, would you please come and get this couch? And they did go out and get it and dispose of it. But it shouldn't be our responsibility to clean up people's messes, especially if they rent property.
well, that's what I'm saying, they're the ones that are getting the revenue.
Yes, they're getting the, I think we need to state something in there that,
But it'll
That
always be
eliminates us from
it'll
that.
always be a problem, I'm afraid.
oh yeah, it's gonna be a problem.
Long time.
I've been around a long time doing it, it's always a problem.
People don't wanna clean their
We
own
got
mess
we
up.
got a problem in Tom's district right now, but
Yes, we
it's the owners.
We got a problem
You know,
with
it goes
all
beyond what
districts.
I can do, you
Yeah.
know, it's just, I've done everything I can do, health department's
Big
done what
problem.
they can do, but
So
And it's
The only
gonna be
thing
the
is
same
leave
way
that
with that
out, or-
line item, you know,
What's
it's
the
just
court
a
wanna
line
do
item.
with?
Or state that we're not responsible for,
I think we
Real
ought to
property.
make an affirmative statement of not being responsible so that the owner of the property knows that he or she better watch for that return of that month's rent. Make sure that that property is well cleaned out and taken care of.
Well, you know what, your
before they
landlord
give it
has a
back.
clause
Yeah.
that states they're able to come and enter your property
Yeah,
and inspect it, you know?
but this would help to give them an alert that they better watch for that, for their own financial circumstances.
I think in the interlocal agreement, it's better just to leave it out and not worry about all that other statement.
Angie, what's your preference? What would work best for you?
Well, you know, I don't have a problem with any of this per se. I just don't want, how should I put this? I don't want the city to think that there's stuff I can do that I can't do.
That's why I'd say
Does
something.
that, you know, I don't want them to think that, oh, well, she's doing this now, we're paying her, we're giving the county money, they're sharing me, and I should be doing what I'm doing in the county. There's a little bit of a difference. We have, you know, they have their code enforcement. They have their own code enforcement, where I'm code enforcement for county. And I don't want code enforcement to, well, we'll call Angie, we can get rid of it there. Because sometimes they get left with the mess themselves.
That's why I think
I
we
mean,
need
should,
supportive language.
does the county want me to accept that because code enforcement? And we pay for it? You know, that's what that's getting at, in my opinion.
It's a cost to our taxpayer.
It is, that's not quite fair since the.
Because, you know,
proprietor or the-
especially
of the
when your,
landlord-
it goes back to the landlords who is getting that.
Any cost of removal is the responsibility of the landowner. Just a sentence like that, it gives you the leverage to say, hey, don't call me for this, I'm code enforcement.
You know, I wanna be able, I wanna work with, I wanna work with everybody. And, you know, we want, you know, the goal is to keep it clean, but I don't want a big expense to us either, because we already have a big enough expense that the taxpayers are actually paying.
But you gotta be consistent also.
Exactly, exactly. So it's the pleasure of whatever, you know, what you all
Do
think,
you
or,
proactively make a statement like, in regard to, rental property, that it is the responsibility of the landlord to dispose of rubbish in a way that
Rubbish,
is
trash,
there-
anything
to
left behind.
dispose of rubbish, period.
cause we've already defined rubbish, so in our, you know, county ordinance, so.
What I tried to do on A, B, and C is tell them what we would do for them.
Exactly.
Not what we wouldn't do, but more about, here's what we're gonna do for you. Because there wasn't anything in this agreement about the expectations. So we created 3 areas and said, this is what we will do for you as a city in this partnership, and just left it at that. And no,
I don't see why that won't work.
And that's why I think if you just take
Just
that
take
one
it out.
line out,
take it
yeah.
then they're still, you know, they're contacting you on the case by case.
Yeah, where do we
Yeah.
take our stuff,
Yeah.
kind of thing. You
And
tell
then
them.
Oh,
you
yeah,
can,
I
and then
get
you
that
can
all the
say,
time, so.
you can say, no, that's your problem, and deal with
Yeah.
it.
Well, they pay taxes.
Yeah.
Oh, and they pay my salary too.
Yeah.
So, what's the court's desire, to remove it or be?
I'll make a motion, we remove it.
Motion to remove that sentence.
Second.
Been made by Magical and seconded by Badger Simmons. Okay, more discussion.
Nope.
There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. All right, let's vote on the interlocal agreement. Have we done that yet? We haven't, because we discussed that element. So, you want to entertain a motion to approve the
Make a
interlocal
motion.
agreement with corrections
Yeah,
made by
yeah.
this court? Okay,
I made the motion.
all right, made by Magistrate Short, seconded by Magistrate Gay, who's, Sammons, okay, excuse me. Any discussion on the interlocal agreement as presented?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, go ahead.
Knowing that an election happens in the fall and this carries over to mid-year next year, correct?
I think it's longer than that, didn't it say?
Okay, all the more. Would it be more appropriate
I think it
to
said
have?
10 years somewhere near there, Julie.
It's,
Hold on a minute.
10
Tom.
fiscal years,
10 years.
concluding
All
June
the
30th,
more, would it be more
2032.
appropriate, rather than having the mayor of Danville sign it, to have the city manager sign it?
I don't think the city
I
manager has
That's
that
their
authority.
I don't think that,
I thought the.
This is
on the
their
contrary,
agreement that they
statutorily.
sent to us.
they sent to us, the city,
We added-
the attorney
The mayor has to.
Yeah.
drafted this,
Yeah.
okay?
I have concerns about that. When he's out of office, and statutes read that the authority of a city manager government is the city manager, not the mayor. The mayor's powers are very, very limited. I'm getting some nods there.
No, I just don't know. I don't know why Stephen put that in there.
Well, we worry about
The
that.
city attorney is the one that draw this up,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
There you go. If he signs it,
Put it in the record.
it's legal.
A year from now, watch what we're looking at.
Has our attorney read this?
No, I don't believe he has he?
Don't think, yes, he has.
Yes? Okay.
Yes. Trying to think back, I'm pretty sure he has. I think he got it
I think you
first.
told me Patrick
Yeah,
or something,
yeah.
look at it.
So our attorney
There's so much
office has
stuff.
signed off on this.
I will double check that, and be sure they have.
So it's y'all's pleasure, whatever you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Angie. You do a good job, buddy.
We're gonna vote on this?
No.
Do that, you got the number on the card. And let me know if I need help.
Mine.
Okay.
I haven't voted yet.
So,
Question.
Details.
Think we're ready to vote.
all right, we have a motion for us, all those in favor. I apologize for taking the call, my son's stranded in Michigan, so. Had to hit a deer last night, so. All those in favor of approving this interlocal agreement as presented with the changes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you, Angie.
Welcome.
All right, Darlene, you're up.
Okay. All right. First and foremost, the annual standing orders. I had them 98% ready at the last meeting, but I had to make a couple of little changes just to match the actual budget. So there's 5 different sections.
It's under financials. Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Motion made by Magistrate Cullen, seconded by Magistrate Sammons to approve the annual standing order document. Is there any questions on what is before the court? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Second, I have 2 new line items for the general fund.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve made by Magistrate Cullen, seconded by Magistrate Gay. 2 new line items to the general fund as stated on there and on your sheet before you. Is there any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
The third thing I had was just your updates to the reserve accounts. There were not a huge amount of changes. Some things actually got reversed back in. The biggest thing you will see though by the next time will be the difference in ARPA. And that's just due to the transfer into the general fund.
Make a motion, we approve.
Have a motion made by Mr. Cohen to approve the reserve accounts and seconded by Magic Salmon. Is there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Okay. Lastly, and it's not on the agenda, but I wanted to just give you all a quick overview so that everyone kind of knows where we are on Springbrook. Most of the work right now is all going on behind the scenes. It's kind of like taking Old Gaelic and turning it into English, modern day English. So they've gone in, they've pulled information, and they're kind of switching it around. You know, you got your nouns, pronouns, adjectives. Well, they've got to switch them all around, put them in the other order. So I've been working on chart of accounts, which is one of the things that I worked on throughout the budget. I was updating all the numbers. Numbers had switched over the years, and updates hadn't been done, but I can understand why. I mean, they were all lined out. Why change them? Now that we're going into a new system, I wanted to make sure everything was updated and completely correct. So that is one of the things I've been working on. I'll have my final chart of accounts to them today. It's a slightly different format, not actually a huge amount of difference. Mariah has actually already gone in. She and I have both met with Springbrook a couple times, and she's gone in and she's gone through a list of vendor addresses to get all of those together, consolidated, inserted. We don't want to bring over people that have been closed for 10 years, you know, or that we no longer do business with. For the most part, the general ledger is bringing over 2 to 3 years worth of information. Occupational tax is bringing over a larger amount. They wanted a greater history, so they will probably not be as quickly added because it is going to take a little bit more time to get that into a functionally useful format, just so that they will be able to go in, make changes as needed, check estimates, estimated payments, and be able to make it working for them. For us, it'll be a little bit quicker. They told me mid-summer. I'm anticipating probably around August 1st, going fairly pretty much mid-live. Not every function, not every facet will be completely live, but general ledger, I would say, purchase orders, invoicing,
Payables.
possibly, yeah, the payables, possibly payroll. I anticipate Shannon getting a list of employees so that she can just check through all of that to make sure everything is completely correct in the next week or so. But most of it's been behind the scenes work, so
Awesome.
it's well on its way, and they are trying to push to get us going.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Being fresh back from Ireland, I appreciate the Gaelic English reference.
All right. Anybody got any questions?
No.
All right. Mike Rogers, you're up.
Man, how'd you get last on the list today?
I asked
You
Missy
been a
if
bad
I
boy?
made- I asked Missy if I made her mad.
All right, that's when you know where you stand, right?
No,
When you move
not
to the
Mike.
bottom of the list.
Not Mike.
Save the best for last, maybe.
There you go.
Good morning, thank you for giving me time. Today, we just have the contract, annual contract with our compliance group. What they do is they audit our billing company to make sure that they are meeting Medicare requirements Every Friday I have a call with our billing company, and they do their own internal audits, and then I also have, I also review their audits. So it's all basically about our billing company, and they also offer us. They have an attorney on staff to answer Medicare compliance questions and stuff. So it's a good benefit for us.
Yeah, we've been really happy with this agreement with this firm, and they do a good job. Do a good job keeping us compliant.
You know, motion that thing.
Need a motion to approve the service agreement with them.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Manager Salmon, second by Manager Short, I believe. And is there any discussion or any questions of Mike on this contract that you have before you?
How are we doing this year on collections?
But it's up a little bit. It's hard to tell. We had some issues submitting runs, so it's been really up, but it's really just, I think at the end of the year it'll be a little higher, but it won't. It's. I don't have the number in front of me.
I know it's a tough one
yeah.
in any economy.
Right.
It's probably getting worse in this particular economy with
Yeah.
40-year high on everything going on.
Well, one of the challenges we face is that when earlier on in my term as the director, at Medicare, they wouldn't audit emergency runs because by law we have to take those patients to the hospital. Well, now they are auditing emergency runs. So some patient may call 911. We have to take them to the hospital, and we may not be able to collect on that just because they don't need an ambulance. But we can't say, well, we're not taking you. We have to, we have to take them to the hospital. So the collections, the write-offs, all those things are always high.
What kind of a position are you put in if your guys recommend that it's not needed any transport? Does your liability go through the roof?
Well,
If they agree and then something happens?
yeah. I mean, if we was to tell someone, well, yeah, you don't need to go, and then they end up having a brain bleed, then that would be, our liability would be significant.
So it's trying to balance that thing
Yeah.
of the taxpayer paying for an unnecessary run versus the liabilities.
And we've had, we have a lot of unnecessary runs. I'll stick with that.
Yeah.
But I don't want anybody to hesitate, the public, for sure. If you're not sure what's going on, if you feel funny, no matter if it's chest pain, shortness of breath, call us. If we, just make sure we can at least come check you out, make sure you're okay. Don't hesitate to call an ambulance. That's what we're here for. We have top-notch people, top-notch equipment. If you're having chest pain, don't drive to the hospital. Call an ambulance. We can start that care as soon as we get next to you. We can let the cath lab know you're coming. That way, it makes everything more smooth line. It's just. I want to make sure I don't discourage anybody. Give us a call if you anything.
All right, does anybody else have any questions, comments? All those in favor of approving this service agreement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay.
Mike, you got two more things. So in our meeting this morning, we talked about was it a new hire or promotion?
Promotion, I think.
Yeah. So we got promoting Kimberly Hagan to lieutenant.
We don't have to. I worked that out with Steve. We don't have to do that here.
I know.
Okay.
But I think it's important that we
Okay,
recognize
Yeah.
accomplishment.
Okay. Sorry. I know where you're going with that.
No, it's all right. I appreciate you trying to shorten the time. Hanging out with Phil. You don't want to get on the bottom of the list. You'll be after district reports next. And then we had a good long discussion this morning about staffing and adding an extra shift. Truck. Extra truck to it. So Mike, you want to talk about that for a minute?
So last year we did 6,219 runs, which is the most we've ever made. since I've been here for 22 years. For 22 years, we've always had the same staffing model, 3 ambulances and a chase paramedic. I think now we've reached the top of that with the same staffing model. I think we've talked about it for a long time in our committee. I think now we need to start considering adding a 4th truck, just because of the amount of runs, the time it takes to complete a run. I joke about it all the time. I wish we were more like UPS, where we could just drop the patient off at the hospital, sign here, and then we're back available. But after you do that part of it, now you've got another hour to an hour and a half worth of paperwork. And again, it goes back to making sure that the paperwork is done to where it is billable so that we can collect on it. And that's been more of a challenge, and that's why we have our compliance company, and that's why we take so much time to do that. So the time, a lot of the times we'll have, a cluster of runs where our people will get 4 or 5 runs behind, and now they still have that paperwork to do. For example, several times the last 2 weeks, we've done 10 runs before 11 o'clock. So that means those 3 trucks have to catch up all that paperwork, and they're still, and the runs don't stop coming.
So you have the personnel to do that.
We just finished an EMT class, so we've kind of, we know who are the best performers out of the class. So I think it'd be a good time to have a conversation to consider adding that 4th truck.
Are they able to dictate, because I can dictate a text, is that how they handle their paperwork?
We're not able to. Now we have to type it out by hand. I know some of the emergency room doctors do that. Most time they're just typing by hand.
Is there any legal or regulatory impediment to them doing that?
Well, so we have basically on electronic run form for EMS, there's 2 sections. There's a flow chart, which that's for data collection for us and the board of EMS. And then there's the narrative part, which is we have to paint the picture, and we always try to paint that high quality 4K picture of your time with the patient. That way it lets the billing company know how to bill it and what to bill for, what not to bill for, what level of service, does it need to be BLS or ALS or specialty care.
But it would be the same information and so much more expedient if your staff could do that.
Yeah, that's something maybe we can have Bill look into.
Because I'm the least in tech in here, I always say that, but I know how to do that on my phone right here.
Medical jargon makes it a lot harder, but I mean, it may be out there though.
Like you might add that the increase from last year is 10%, which is.
That's huge.
That's huge.
So what we did was, last calendar year was 6,219. We just ran the numbers June 1st. We're 10% above that if we go June to June. So and we can't figure out exactly. There's not one culprit, like there's not one smoking gun. That, okay, this is where all the runs are coming from. A big part of it is the hospital, the EMS shortage. We don't have, I think it's a lot harder to call for counties to call, for hospitals to call, Mercer County, Garrett County, Lincoln County to take those patients back because they're having the same shortage we are, and they're busy too. So I think that's one part of it.
I'm getting back to the 4th truck. You have, how many, you've got, run 3 schedules?
We have 4 shifts.
4 shifts, okay.
We have a two-day shifts, 2 night shifts.
8 people, aren't you?
No, we're just looking at hiring 2 people right now.
Well, how they're gonna stay 24 hours, because you were gonna run 24?
Well, because see, our peak time is just during the day, from 10 to 10. So we want to start. We want to start with 2, and then see if we can make it work with that.
Do you have what's the budget impact of this, and is this a budgeted issue?
It is, but it isn't. Because what we're having to do right now is pay a lot of overtime. And so we'd end up actually saving probably money by not paying all of the overtime not relying on part-time people as much. You know, we moved to the 12-hour shift to give people time off and time with their families. Well, they're not seeing the full potential of that because
Of the workload.
the workload. Also, you know, if you kind of run this shift here, you don't necessarily, if someone calls out, you don't have to call somebody in. You already have it kind of covered.
Not, it's, well, it's kind of a shift, but it's adding a fourth truck to
So-
the peak hour.
Sound like we're really gonna have to crunch some numbers.
So last year we used 4,517 unscheduled overtime hours. So
It's
if
a
you
bunch.
if you calculate that out, it's basically 12-hour shift every day.
But what are we doing now with overtime hours? Since we went to 12 hours?
Well, that's what it was for
I mean, since we went to 3 shifts,
before we went to since we're on 12-hour shifts.
okay, so
we-
what's
from
the overtime
July
hours
till-
now with that?
Well, that's what I just said. From July till April, it was like 3,388. So if you divide that and calculate it for a year, it's basically
I thought-
12 hours every day.
Maybe I'm asleep, but I thought, I understood when you changing these shifts, that the purpose was to help cut down this overtime. Is that correct?
Yeah, it does, but what happens when people take, you know, like if someone takes vacation or if someone calls in sick, we have to replace that person.
It looks to me like you'd be better off, instead of adding another truck, to have these extra people to work when someone didn't show up, so we cut this overtime field again.
We've had more part-time people,
Or
maybe.
more part-time people.
Yeah, if you can find them, I know that's true.
Be outside.
Go tackle it.
We didn't say it.
Part-time is a struggle. It's a circle, okay? You hire them, they work until they find something full-time, they're gone.
Well, we understand.
Yeah,
I'd really
so,
look.
so I think, you know, the good thing about if you have 8 per shift, someone calls in sick, now
You're covered.
you have
You're
3
covered.
trucks and you're just back to, you're not paying someone overtime.
Hold on.
Same run model for 25 years, 22,
22. I've been here 22 years.
22
We've had
years.
3 trucks
and their runs, especially over the last 2 years, have increased greatly. You all saw that in your insurance business. You're like, I got more business than I can handle. What are you going to do? You're going to hire on an extra person to get to make sure you get that business, or else you guys are
We
putting in
make
the
more
extra
money.
hours. Well, so what we need to do is we need to make sure that, you know, when they get a call, you know, to go over to Mr. Salmon's house, that they have the trucks to do that. Because the other problem that we're getting is we're having the hospital that's running them rampant all over the place with these transfers as well. So,
Well, I'm thinking about another truck, more expensive, more gasoline or diesel fuel, and break down, and tires gotta be replaced.
And availability.
With another vehicle. I know you're gonna have availability.
It looked like to me it's a never-ending thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's what,
But EMS has to meet the needs of the
I
community.
agree with that. I mean, I'm not,
Yeah, I understand.
If the needs grow, we need to
yeah,
grow
that's
with
exactly right.
supply
But you gotta have the money to do that too.
I understand.
But,
But you have to be willing to change.
Mike, every time there's a fender bender, you all have to go.
Every time someone calls 911, yeah, we
Yep.
have to go. We're required by KRS to go. yeah.
Law requires
I know you go down by my house constantly. I don't know where you're going.
it's called Parable, little nice town.
I think
Parable
we'll-
County.
Horrible.
I think we'll give Pearl back to Washington County, that way we won't have one.
They just run the signs back at your house.
You didn't say that. Come on, dude.
Magistrate Salmon comes to order that you be impeached as Caco's president.
Probably.
We should talk about them being unincorporated. How about that?
We'd like to.
We're just gonna have to really just, we're gonna have to crunch the numbers
Yeah,
before we come up with the
And
budget to do
that's
it.
kind of where
Yeah.
we are. I mean, if you want to crunch the numbers, they've actually already done it for us.
Yeah.
I'm happy to give you guys this proposal here where it shows we're in a lot of there's a lot of dark red on here where it's really close to us being in jeopardy of not being able to
Meet the demand.
meet the demands of
Well, I mean, we
our
done
citizens.
the budget, so I don't see how you gonna get that in our new budget.
Well, it's again, we're not coming to you just blindly here. the money is there, especially if you take out the overtime.
Yeah, but that's not been, that's still a problem. Overtime's still a problem, no matter what.
Problem because we've got more runs and not enough trucks.
Right,
So that's what we're
well,
trying
not
to
enough people.
add the extra truck. Well, we didn't have enough people, but luckily because of the class that we got, they graduated, or not graduated, but several took tests and have passed, and we've got several that we can choose from, and so that was the problem of not being able to
It would
incorporate
probably be
before the
mostly
truck.
BLS, basic life-saving skill sets.
Yeah.
Which,
We're two EMTs.
Mike, do you think this amount of runs will continue?
Well,
COVID kind of slows down again?
I don't, we're not seeing very many COVID patients right now.
That ain't gonna slip.
What are you seeing?
Well, that's what I'm
Otherwise,
saying, is I don't know what the smoking gun is. It's just an increase across everything. Increased traumas, increased cardiacs, increased transports, increased interfacility transports.
Now we're running into the hot weather season.
Yep.
I think the judge hit a point this morning that you have to consider is that we have a more senior citizen population than we
it's
used
growing
to have.
in
It's
age.
growing,
It's growing in age.
and
We're living too long, brother.
That's right.
You said it.
Well, you don't staff it properly, you guys won't get it.
Well, hey. I don't look at it that way. The Lord takes care of me.
Ronnie and I.
I don't depend on them.
By
Ronnie,
giving you the tools.
we had people complained about the premium, I paid too much into this policy, and that's what we'd always tell them, you live too long. You should have died so many years ago.
Would the court like more information on the value of adding a fourth truck? Because there
Yes,
seems to be
I would.
some question about.
It'd be nice to get that packet.
Since I don't have it in front of Jamie, I think maybe I should.
Really, Mike, we see the value of it.
I know, yeah.
Really, we
I
do
appreciate
see the
the-
value
I think
of
we
it.
can talk
These are
about
all
this
tech
next time.
questions.
I think there would be a significant offset on our overtime pay, which it may not be a complete 100% wash, but budgetarily, I think there would be a significant offset moving toward a two-person, especially EMT for basic life saving.
If it's gonna offset the cost, what it's gonna
Not
cost.
100%, but
No,
it'll
but
get close.
I mean,
The difference.
we're
that
looking at a lot of cost and.
The difference
you
I
know,
couldn't calculate would be the additional cost for gas and maintenance on the
yeah,
vehicle.
we don't know where that's going.
No. Now, that could be anywhere all over the map.
Yes, right now,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right.
I don't mean to take away, Jason, from your report, but you talked this morning about what you're seeing already in our hiring of a person to work on the trucks and the fine job that he's doing. Would you like to share that with everybody?
Say that again, sorry.
Talk about the mechanic.
Oh,
Yeah.
mechanic, yeah, okay, I
Mechanic.
missed that part. Yeah, so I think my brain's working right. We're the third week with the mechanic, and he's went through basically two of the trucks, and once he gets through that process of getting through them all, I think it's going to be so much easier as far as being able to get the routine maintenance done, and the brakes basically they need brakes every 3 months. The frontline trucks do, the 3 frontline trucks do. So it's been a real benefit to us. The labor cost and the markup from the cost of the parts that we're getting, since there's no markup, is going to save us. It's been working out really great. I can't say enough good things about Tommy and his abilities. So it's been
On
great.
brakes, the months don't tell me anything. I just turned in a truck with 76,900 miles on it, no brake work. What's going on there? How many miles?
We do about, frontline trucks do about 30,000 a year, and I think it's just the weight and the way that we have to drive them to get to places is what, it could be an issue with that Chevrolet chassis, but it's, I don't know.
It's important, I know you want to move right along, but it's important to realize that I always feel very good when we have meetings with Director Rogers, that he's done the due diligence before he comes to us. he and his staff put in a lot of time trying to figure out ways to save the county money while still providing an integral service to the community. I'd written this down earlier, but he does an excellent job of delegating duties to various people. And I see that he does that because he realizes that he's not going to always be here as the director. He's going to retire, unfortunately, at some point. So he is setting up the EMS to be able to run, you know, when that next person takes over. And so I greatly appreciate that. And so when he brings suggestions and recommendations, and you know, and you know, he'll also admit, you know, when things don't work out. You know, the part-time thing didn't work out, but he tried it, and that's the kind of thing. We got to try these things while still making sure that, you know, our citizens are being taken care of. So I think a lot of the other things we spend money on is really nothing compared to the EMS and the sheriff and all of our first responders. Those are the important things that we make sure that get taken care of first. So I generally, I mean, believe me, I ask plenty of questions, but I feel very good usually when Mike's bringing a suggestion to us, or if he's, you know, asking to talk about something or whatever, that it's been well thought out. You know, I mean,
a lot of that's the judge's idea. I mean, when I talk to the judge all the time, and, you know, I've heard him say it once, I've heard him say it 1,000 times. It's called cut training, cross-utilization training.
Cross-utilization training, yes.
So that's kind of the model that we've kind of been taking since he stopped.
right.
You guys in the Army are familiar with that.
Maybe. And one of the important things to bring up about the part-time people is that you know, a person part-time may work like one day and then may not work again for 4 or 5. And there's things that happened at that run that they need to get a hold of that person to talk about, because, you know, whether it's data entry or follow-up stuff or whatever.
A billing thing needs to be fixed.
Yeah, but so you can't get that until the person comes back in. So that's why the part-time it's good in theory, but.
Yeah, the thing that hurts part-time is that they can only work 96 hours a month.
That's it.
So that's just enough for them to get money, but it's not a full-time status. So as soon as they can get a full-time status somewhere, they're gone.
Yeah.
Well, I can understand that.
There you go.
But especially with the shortage we have. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, that concludes our consent calendar. Now we can go around the room with district reports, starting with Magistrate Sanders.
We're gonna do that before we go to executive.
Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll go into executive session.
I don't have any, my chairman has a report.
No, not committee reports, we'll do that second.
We do it the second time.
report
Oh,
session.
you're talking about
Just
District
report.
concerned about.
Excuse me?
What are you asking for? Right
District report, whatever you want to say about your district.
Well, about my district, I was gonna talk to Angie, about a problem I've got out in, on Carrigan. But, one thing, that it's not only our district, but the whole court. I thought, and Kay would correct me on this, I thought according to KRS such and such, we were supposed to have a law enforcement, the sheriff or deputy, with this court every time we meet.
We started out that way. I don't know if KRS says that, but we did start out that way for a long period of time.
I remember one time that the judge had to ask the sheriff who's in here to remove a person. You remember that, John? And I don't feel like we got the security that we should have.
Okay.
So I wonder why they quit.
I don't know.
I think a lot of it came down to COVID when it was a closed session.
Yeah, when it was closed, and they probably have not realized the importance of re-engaging since we're now in open court.
Okay.
So I will make that request of the sheriff's office to do so.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay?
Another thing,
We can't carry in here.
you know, we say here a lot of times, I will vote for something that really, well, he's supporting it, I'm supporting him in a way, and really probably not the right thing to do. But we did something 2 or 3 meetings ago that I still think we did wrong. There's a couple walk in, and they asked for $5,000. So what do? They give us hard luck story. They're gonna set up a proper, what do you call it?
Talking about backpack things. Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
I'm talking about that. We have to, and with helping hands, we have to write a letter to the court, to Julie, and then we have to follow up to give everybody what happened. And then what do we get? We get immediately $2,000. And you all don't realize how many people in the county will help them. But these people walk in and they haven't, it wasn't on their agenda. They were not, hadn't seen anything telling us why they needed this money in advance.
I think it was on the agenda.
They were on the agenda.
It's on the agenda, but did you get a letter prior to that like everybody else?
I don't think they knew. We didn't know about them, they didn't know about us.
Well, they should have waited till next year. I wouldn't vote for something like that again.
They actually called to request an appointment to come in and talk. And then I called them back and told them the next court date, and they asked to come in and present.
Well, they should have gone through the proper procedures for them. I mean, they should have sent you a letter and describing where this money is going, this and that, so we could have been prepared when it's put on the agenda.
I put you on the spot, but I remember you wanted to give him $7 grand right off the bat.
I did not
and
want to give them anything.
We asked to have some actual documentation about what the money's going toward and if they were a 501c3.
Take my name off this 7,000 before you go any farther.
I think you might want to read the minutes.
Go ahead.
What else you got for the district?
That's all.
Okay. There's Short.
I don't have anything.
Okay. There's Gay.
I just would like to thank all the volunteers and the businesses and everybody in town that helped make the Brass Band Festival back to life and real this year. As
Well, it was
it's
a great
supposed to
success.
be. And yeah, it was. The weather couldn't have been better. Thought town looked great. I thought we put our best foot forward once again, which is always a big thing. So it was exciting to have that. And again, so many volunteers to make it happen. It's amazing to see all that they do and everybody, all the businesses in town that chip in and make sure their fronts look great and everything just was spit spot. So do want to just commend everybody on that. And then, as you've already indicated, hoping that we'll adjourn in memory of Mike Waller.
Yes.
That's all I have.
I'd like to echo that, you're right, Brass Band was wonderful, and everybody showed off what we have here, so appreciate that. At one time, several meetings ago, I think said that BCTC would maybe come and give us their
July.
score.
They're on schedule in July.
They are, okay,
Yes, sir.
that's good, because if we can help, I want us to try to be able to help them.
Well, we're working on that, John, just so you know that Mike and I have a meeting this week with Dr. Tipton to discuss some things that will help the process should we all come into agreement regarding EMT and AEEMT training potential out at VCTC, along with paramedic eventual training, same there too.
Is Dr. Tipton back here permanently?
No, sir, not permanently. She is interim, but she's here on at least 2 days a week. And she is it for right now, but interim leave.
But she knows us and we know her.
Yes.
Yeah, she's
I
great.
think the communication will be very good. The judge and Tom and I went to a meeting after our last meeting at City Hall. I am so glad that this is beginning to really come together just a little bit on the shootings issue within our schools, which is almost at the top of my list of things we need to really work on every day. In fact, it is at the top of my list because our young people need security and need to feel good about security, and the parents do too. I would like to be kept up to date on how that process is going and what's coming together and how those conversations are going with other people who are involved, such as first responders and the plannings and everything that's happening with that issue. And I'm sure Brian's glad to tell us, but I think he would like to know how often maybe we'd like to get an update on it, and I asked the court for their judgment on this issue.
Okay.
Once a quarter, I just throw out once a quarter, once every 6 months, just how.
Do you want,
How
and
just to tell
what
us.
you're, what you're envisioning is an update on incremental training opportunities, piecemeal and collective, to show a responsive nature to any kind of incident that relates to that.
There were a lot of ideas thrown out in
Yeah.
that meeting, a lot of great ideas, and really a good collection of folks who are directly involved and have that responsibility. It was a good meeting. I like to be sure that it proceeds down the road in keeping us informed what we can do to help.
Okay, so would you like a quarterly briefing from EMA in regards to our plans and training responses?
Yeah.
Okay. That way it keeps us out,
It
keeps us
keeps
informed.
us know, and he knows how often
Yeah.
to come, and he can prepare for it, and I think in fairness to him, that should be.
Yeah, that
But
sounds
how
good.
often it is, that's up to you all.
You want it twice a year or quarterly?
Quarterly.
Quarterly?
Quarterly.
Keep it fresh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will inform him and invite him, and we'll keep that moving through the planning phases of response. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, next color.
Brass band too, I thought was a good time. Wasn't as full as I hoped it would be, but it's the first year, so I'm hoping maybe next year we'll get a little more attendance out of it.
Bring blue race back.
Huh?
Bring the blue race
Balloon
back.
race would be great.
Yeah.
Julie, anything we can do about that one? That was always the radio station. Then Rick was a big pusher on that one. So, but I think that as we kind of move forward with our EDA and whatever else, you know, we need to make sure that the director of whether it's the corporation or whatever, you know, utilizes that weekend to really bring businesses to town. You know,
We've talked about
years.
Yeah, for years, and again, I didn't see anybody out there from like EDP kind of courting anybody. I did see Francesco and his crew out there from the distillery, which was great. They made a special trip to be out here. So, but I think that, you know, that's one of the many events that we have and will have that we really just need to make sure our economic team is really focusing on bringing people in at those times. I'm glad we are, well, not glad, but I appreciate the fact that we are going to close in Mike Wilder's name. Unfortunately, I was out of town last week and couldn't make it to his service, and I was thought about trying to figure a way back, but it just wasn't feasible. Not only do I think we need to hear from the superintendent, and I know this is kind of from the state, but I really think we need to be involved at the school level. So maybe we have our superintendents come in with the safety, like a broad level, because we don't want to give away everything, but really have the superintendents come in and say, how safe are our schools? What have you guys imposed in the schools to show that they're safe, and that nobody's getting in? I mean, I have kids now in all three schools, and I know that I'm met right at the front door, and it's almost impossible to get on the elementary school, but I really think it'd be important if at a local level we need to know what's being done to protect our kids.
Well, there's probably a lot of things they should not
They
present
should
to
not.
us in an open environment.
Correct. But there are, I think the discussion needs to happen, and I think in a public way we need to be able to say that we have met with our school systems, and they know that this is a top priority for us, even though we don't have, you know, the ability to kind of tell them what to do, but we expect as parents, grandparents, or whatever of kids in these schools, that we want to, nobody can say, well, why didn't you know? So, speaking of superintendents, if we could possibly invite the new Danville superintendent to come in and introduce himself, give us a little background, and I think it'd be great for the court to meet him. So if we can invite him, that'd be wonderful. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank
Judge,
you.
can I interrupt?
You had your
I
time.
know I've already had my turn. You brought something. I just want to tell you, I appreciate what you did during Mike's funeral with having the flags, Lord. I thought that was just really great. I knew Mike would really appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And another thing that's on my mind, which I have grandkids in school, this and that, but you ever think about the school security that we really have? I know I'm just thinking about Bait, for example. The school security guy, one of our deputy sheriffs, does a wonderful job. But he's up out front, helping you get across the street and all this kind of thing. Well, what in the world would keep someone from coming in the back?
Doors are
Locked doors, hopefully.
Well, no, I'm not talking about that. They have to come out of that building to get on school bus. And he's out here on the street.
Well,
I just don't think it's a proper security.
I believe at the federal level, there's discussions about making things more secure, providing funding for schools. I think they're really seeing that it's not just banning weapons, it's that you need to, it's the mental issues, and it's making the schools secure. We send enough money overseas and all over the world that some of that money should stay here to make sure that our schools are the most secure, and that those kids should not have a concern. Instead of being a soft target, they need to be a hard target, is really what happens in law enforcement.
Well,
So-
Boyle County schools, they have an officer, when kids get on the bus, they've got an officer sitting in front of every one of the, where they come out, they got an officer at every one of our schools in Boyle County. That
But to
makes sure they
echo
gets on
what-
the bus and nothing's going up.
But to echo
Now,
what Bill's
Danville, I
saying,
don't know about Danville, so.
that doesn't mean that all the kids are out of the classroom, so somebody comes in the back door at the end of school. So
The doors are not open for them coming in that back.
Shouldn't be.
Okay.
They do
Are
not
you
come
through,
out
Phil?
of the back door of Boyle County schools.
Are you through, Phil? I am so glad that John mentioned the meeting that the judge, John and I went to. Years ago, I had to go to Baltimore at the Medicare offices on behalf of all Blue Cross Association. That is so huge a bureaucracy that they literally have a northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest campus. The cab driver took me to the wrong building, which was making me late for an incredibly important meeting. I was not going to go through the 10-minute process that I went on the northeast in the northwest. I decided to go to the back door, and a delivery truck was there, and he took the doors and did this with them. I walked in, went to my meeting, I was right on time, not a minute to spare, and I walked out that same door because I wasn't checked in to security. Folks, Tommy Preston worked for Wendell Ford back 30 years ago, and Tommy worked with us at Blue Cross, and he said any one individual at any one time can breach security. I want to meet with both of our superintendents and encourage them to hire someone who is not known by anyone and find the ways to breach security. If I weren't identified at Boyle County High School, I guarantee you I could get in that school today. I guarantee it, because of things that happened 20 years ago when I was being certified there, and you can't get every teacher, every administrator, every student to do 100% of the time what is in the manual to do. So I would encourage not only to get the superintendent from Danville, but also Boyle County in here and talk about that, and maybe go into closed session, because these are very difficult things to talk about. I brought up one issue in that session that we were in a couple weeks ago that I would not want to spread to the world because of ways that security can be breached. So I really know that anywhere, anytime, security can be breached. Second issue, Missy, Julie, thank you for above and beyond at Brass Band. That was just extraordinary what you all set up, so thank you very much. Third, I know that we had better be talking about solar again soon, because some of us went to that session, and we're on deadline July 15th.
I think so.
But that's going to be here before we know it. And we've got some tough things to go over, and I'm getting calls. I hope you guys are too.
There's lots of meetings happening.
Yeah, so we've
We
got
should
to
probably
go
just
back
talk
on
about
that.
extending it now.
I'm going to have to go back to the city again and maybe even get on their agenda, because I'm getting so many calls. My AT&T has been so less than efficient these past couple of weeks, and I have no idea. I thought it was weather, but it's not been. And I'm getting calls from other services. If we could get on the antennas on the water towers in my district, I guarantee you they would give you a signal all the way over in parts of eastern Boyle County. So I'm going to try to get on that agenda. Asphalt, we've got a build-up on Main Street in Perryville. Judge, have you gotten any feedback since we
I have not. There's a meeting with District 7 later this month. Okay.
Yeah. We've really got to help out on that, because
Yeah,
the flooding, they built up the asphalt so high without milling it in the past years that it's flooding into some of the buildings that we have and some of the private residences. The last thing is a little bit awkward, but I hope you'll agree with me or advise me differently. Both from the standpoint that the judge has assigned Magistrate Cullen and me to birthplace of Kentucky, and issues they brought up 3 different times about the use of the buildings, and they've always punted it back, saying we can't do that because of our contract with EDP. And the fact that I know that minimally 3 or 4 people who are on the board with me, including their current staff member, are always monitoring our meetings. I'm in that meeting tomorrow, folks, and I don't think I wait to be asked. I think I probably need to tell them what our action was today. Any advice from you would be much appreciated.
I think what our action would, yes.
And we've got to tell the birthplace as well, because they've got some exciting ideas about the use of our Constitution Square. That's all, Judge.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Can I say one thing real quick about the shooting thing real quick?
Yeah.
I would encourage the court to look at the being ready for active shooter or mass disaster. I think there's 3 aspects, and I think we need to look at it as a redundancy. So, like Magistrate Cullen said, look at the mental health. If you see something, say something, preach that. That fails, the schools need to be ready to lock and secure everything as best as they can. Make sure we're taking all those steps. If that fails, the very last step, God forbid anything ever happen, that emergency services are trained and ready to respond and mitigate that problem as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And so I think that's the way to look at it. Don't hang your hat on just one thing, but focus on all of them. So that's what I think.
And if Mike ever has another debriefing like he did for the 3 of us recently, go. You really need to go and listen to how comprehensive that is.
We're now going on 4 years since we've had a viable, collaborated active shooter response drill, and we learned a lot last time. And I would love to see another one in the not too distant future. And so I think that meeting that you're referring to showed the importance for us to start planning to go down that road now.
You talking about?
Not in response to Uvalde or anything else. It's just time to do it.
The schools do it every year.
Yeah,
This was a community one that the judge is talking about.
This
Okay,
one-
you're not talking about the schools.
No.
Okay,
no.
because the schools, they do this.
Yeah, but, okay, they do it every year, but I don't
I think they
believe.
do it twice a year, once every semester.
Do they do it in conjunction with EMS and
I'm
Sheriff's
sure they
Office
do,
and Police
because
Department?
No, you're getting a no over here.
No, they don't.
I know they go in and lock the door, like, probably basically the.
Yeah, the lockdown drills.
Yeah, the lockdown, that's what they do.
Yeah, no, we
lockdown
do
drills.
those. Yeah, we've had.
That's different. That's different.
Yeah, okay.
You know, one of the things that came out of last week's meeting is that every school, somebody said 13 or 14 buildings or educational buildings, schools, every one is different, right, Mike? And so that's one of the things that makes it difficult. Every school is different. So you have to be right on every one, but planning's critical.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to have something at Fairville Elementary before they go back to school.
Yeah.
Better be safe
Even
than
if it's
sorry.
just a tabletop.
Yeah, even if it's just a tabletop.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Hey, just to clarify, Judge, Sheriff's been outside the whole time. He just didn't feel the need to be inside here, but if he wants us, he said, that way his office can still get a hold of him, but if we feel he needs to actually be in here, sitting here for the 2 to 3 hours, he'll do it.
I think that'd be the proper place for him.
It always was.
What,
For
outside
years.
or inside?
Outside.
Yeah, I mean, he's sitting out right outside our door, so that's where he's standing,
Okay.
so.
However, that's not the only entrance. into
No, this
room.
is also.
At the front.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else? Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session, discuss under KRS 6181.0 hearings which might lead to appointment, discipline, and dismiss or dismissal of an individual employee. I'll make that motion.
Second.
And it's been seconded by Nash Cullen. So, although, is there any discussion, all those in favor of going into executive session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, opposite, opposed? We go into executive session. We will come back out of executive
bang, remember?
No, I've always, like maybe I've always done it myself to make sure it didn't bang, I don't know.
You turn it back on?
Yes, sir, I did.
Does Darlene need to be back in here?
She'll be out in just a second.
Oh, she has to be back in.
Let me ask.
She doesn't necessarily have to be.
No, I
Tell
don't think
Bill
so.
he's coming back
Well,
out.
you
Make sure Bill got us back on there.
We're live.
Okay. All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
I make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Magistrate Short to come out of executive session and seconded by Magistrate Gay, with the statement that no action was taken during executive session. All those in favor of coming out of executive session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. We are now back in open court. So, we have some things we need to finish up on the record, and we'll move from there.
I'll make a motion that we end the probationary period for Darlene and impose the increase that goes along with that.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to to conclude the probationary period for our treasurer, made by Magistrate Cullen, seconded by Magistrate Ellis. Any discussion?
Well, she's done a great job, and I think she deserved it, and I think she knows it well, have a lot of confidence in her. Proud that she's with us.
All right. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Well, congratulations, Darlene, on that. And I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn in honor and recognition of the service that Mike Wilder provided this county for several years, and his service to our state in the Coroners Association for over 40 plus years. I think it's closer to 50. And
I'd like to say.
would like to adjourn in honor of his service to this county.
I'd like to say.
I make a motion.
Okay, motion made, but
I second it.
Magistrate Short.
I hope you're making a motion.
Well, let me make the motion.
Okay,
Let me
go
make
ahead.
the motion and seconded by Magistrate Simmons.
Okay, that's
Okay?
fine.
I will make that motion to adjourn in his honor. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries unanimously. Gentlemen, ladies, we adjourn in honor of Mike Wilder. Thank you, and